Widespread legalization of cannabis in the U.S. has many pros and cons. Benefits include safe access to clean products and a wide range of therapeutic potential for patients. On the flip side, some argue that cannabis may negatively impact mental health of certain individuals. So-called cannabis-induced psychosis has been weaponized by anti-pot advocates, yet research into the condition remains mixed. However, a new study may provide clarity. The journal Molecular Psychiatry published an analysis that focused on the impact of marijuana consumption on human DNA, specifically looking at a molecular process called DNA methylation. This process helps regulate gene activity by signaling specific genes to turn on or off. Scientists honed in on how high-potency cannabis impacts DNA, which they defined as pot with more than 10% THC. The research team used data from 2 European studies examining DNA samples and self-reported cannabis use information. 239 participants were experiencing their first episode of psychosis during the study, while 443 participants were in a stable mental state. Roughly 65% of the volunteers identified as male, while the age range was between 16 and 72. Scientists sought to identify any differences on DNA methylation between healthy cannabis consumers and those experiencing psychosis. It turns out that regular use of high-potency weed does impact the genes, specifically those regulating energy and immune system function. Participants with psychosis displayed a decreased mitochondrial function, while those in a neutral mental state did not. The research team pinpointed these differences as evidence that there could be a predisposition for cannabis-induced psychosis in certain people. There were limitations in the study. The first centers on self-reported cannabis consumption. Scientists could only surmise the potency of pot based on the strain name given by participants, which they compared to available government data. Cannabis potency can vary widely due to growing conditions and other factors, meaning it's hard for researchers to know precise THC content based on strain name alone. Study authors also contend that while they factored in tobacco use in their DNA analysis, quote, distinct cannabis signal became challenging. Roughly 85% of study participants used tobacco, which is known to alter DNA methylation. Despite limitations, the research team hopes their findings inform future studies into how cannabis impacts the human body. Given the DNA results, it may be possible for scientists one day to develop a blood test that could indicate whether someone is predisposed to cannabis-induced psychosis. With so much attention being paid to the condition, a test like that could help bolster harm reduction and reduce risks. What do you guys think? Do you think that someday we could take a blood test and find out who's going to develop mental health conditions when they use pot, or is it unlikely?
I think that'd be awesome. I remember, I love the whole science of this. I don't always understand it. But, like Todd McCormick back in the, Clubhouse days was talking about, one day the doctors will be able to come up with, we have a multivitamin, these are the terpenes that, that your body needs and the cannabinoids your body needs, and you'll be able to take them like a multivitamin. I think that'd be awesome. I hate when they do tests like this. I feel like they should leave out those 85% of tobacco users so that we're just getting cannabis data. But I like it. It's cool.
Well, even things as simple as sugar can, alter your DNA methylation, right? So we need to look into other factors. And there was a guy who was doing a cannabis DNA project, and that's what he was looking at. And the girl who's famous for screaming about cannabis hyperemesis when we're like, that's not really a thing, didn't qualify for that because of the number of medications they were on, right? So I think it's interesting to be able to think that we could get there scientifically. It would have to be more of well, you're sick for this, let's go do this test again, because as your body changes, you definitely need to take in different things, and it's not maybe just a one-size-fits-all, even on a person-by-person basis. But it's interesting, and I don't always understand the science either still, but it is cool.
I don't think anybody understands what causes psychosis. That's the problem. And when Mark Twain said there's lies, damn lies, and statistics. These are statistical analysis, okay? And you can make them say pretty much what you want them to say. What is needed in this is the type of research that's done for real drugs. And when you're going to put a pharmaceutical drug out there, you have a cohort you select, you do double-blind testing, so no one knows what they're getting, because it just confounds it. And when you have another drug in the system that causes this DNA problem, okay, and the mitochondrial problems, such as tobacco does, now that what do the results actually mean? They don't mean shit, because until you remove these confounding factors, you really don't know what's causing this. And back in I think the Indian Hemp Commission in the 1890s found hash eaters all over India in their mental institutions because they were just fucking crazy. They had, psychosis. Okay, so this is not a brand new phenomenon. It's a talking point. It's a fear tactic. And I mean, I have no doubt that cannabis causes metabolic changes. In the long term, it can cause some damage. And I'd love to see testing so that physicians could test you and say, okay, these are what you should stay away from. Does that mean people are going to stop smoking, drinking, things like that? I don't think so. But this is so confounding that I'm just not sure what to make of it.
Well, Dale, I think people could. It depends on what the side effects are. You know what I mean? It depends on what happens afterwards, on how your DNA kind of morphs into, right?
Well, yeah, but you've got to find people who have let's say normal DNA profiles, okay, and then you subject them to the introduction of these of cannabinoids and see what it changes. You've got a baseline that's normal, and if it changes, and you really have a causative relationship between the substance you put in there and what you get, that's where I'd like to see this go. But as long as it's Schedule 1, we ain't going to do shit to study it. Even as a Schedule 3, I doubt this is going to come out in the next 5 to 10 years. I'd like to see it. But as more people use cannabis, there will be pressure to study this and find out what is this doing to people. Because these issues like, cannabis hyperemesis, okay, what causes that? Is that a placebo effect? You're just fucking crazy, and someone says, oh, your nausea is caused by this, or you think it is, and now all of a sudden you can't get off the topic? I don't know, because Heather has it, okay, and I trust my kid, right? What does it mean? I really don't know. That's just one of the many problems, and in the bottom line, you can't overdose on cannabis. No matter what it is you do, you can't kill yourself, consuming this stuff. It is safe. Now, let's go beyond this and see how safe is it? What things should you do or should you not do under the influence of cannabis? And, what's the long-term ramifications? Because we know, hundreds of thousands of people die every year from cancer from tobacco. Okay, we know it. It doesn't stop people using tobacco. We just know you're going to, you go into high school and say, oh, this is going to kill you if you smoke. Yeah, as they're, taking the hit off their vape cart. Oh, I just don't think it's going to change human nature. I'd like to know myself, though.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm a little torn on this. I'm not sure I believe a lot of the hype and whatnot. And there was also another article that came out that our viewer Jeff just had texted me saying that scromiting, the new panic over weed, is actually a real thing. Scromiting, you guys. I had to ask him. I was like, "What the hell?" Yeah, exactly. What the hell is scromiting? Because to me that just sounds like that's the word that they started using for when people that have CHS start throwing up. To me, that's what that sounds like. They're going to call it.
Or when you vomit on someone's scrotum. All right, there you go.
Oh my wow.
Whoa.